right, welcome back. This is a REHARM lesson, reharmonization, finding new chords for a song. Today I picked You've Got a Friend in Me. This is, I don't know, it's a song that I like and gets stuck in my head a lot, as well as a song that a lot of you request. So it's the most requested song in the kids' lessons, and a lot from the adults as well. So I assume that several of you are parents like I am, and your kids watch the movies a billion times over. Anyway, since this is a reharmonization lesson, this is not really a beginner's lesson per se. It won't take much to understand what's going on here, but in actually playing the notes is a whole other matter. As you already know, if you've been playing for longer than a week or two, you realize, oh, my brain understands that, but my fingers won't do it yet. So it's not really a beginner's lesson to play, but let's jump in, and maybe some of this will be helpful in other songs. And that's kind of the goal here, is not that you would be able to play You've Got a Friend in Me or play the reharmonized version of You've Got a Friend in Me one point at a time, but that just you would understand kind of the principles at work, so you can take your favorites and then apply them to other songs. Yeah, okay, cool. We'll go with that. So first of all, we have to be able to play this song, and so the Randy Newman version uses kind of like a almost like a stride style down here. So it's for the E flat chord, he's gonna play this kind of stuff right here. Don't have time in this lesson. It's not the appropriate lesson to explain what's going on here, but if that makes sense to you, then cool. And then the A flat would be something like this. So that's kind of what's going on there, and then just catching some chord tones. I'm going to try to play this once through, not reharmonized, just playing these straight up chords in his style-ish thing. The beginning of the song has this thing that goes, and since this is not a cover lesson, I'm not going to go through all these notes, but you can slow this down and I think, and the chords should be something like, before it gets into it. So and then the melody, I'll try not to play the sevenths and stuff this time through. I'll just try to play exactly what's written here on your page, and none of the reharmonization stuff that I accidentally throw in sometimes. Here we go. So that was mostly just the chords there, a couple little times, or once I think I threw an extra note that shouldn't have been there. But so that's basically the starting version that we're going with. Now, if we just change the style of piano and we slow it down and don't change any of the chords, already that's a different version of the song. We haven't really reharmonized it yet. We haven't found new chords for it, but just slowing it down and playing it with a different inflection would be something like this. So again, we haven't changed anything there. That's all just the exact same stuff, with just a different style of playing, probably the more common style, YouTube 1-5-1 stuff in the left hand, and then just basically playing a note at a time, sometimes 2 notes at a time in the right hand. So that's where we're starting from. And that's the thing that I didn't do in the Amazing Grace lesson, was play that through. So that's kind of our baseline. Now, the first thing we can do is just, we're going to go over the green parts here in part 1, and then we're going to do the blue alterations in lesson 2, and then we're going to go through the red alterations in lesson 3, in part 3 of this lesson. So the first thing we can do is just add major 7s and 7s and 9s and flat 9s. So the major 7s are going to go anywhere we're on the 1 chord or the 4 chord in the song. This song is in the key of E flat, so that means that we're dealing with these chords here. So anytime we have the E flat, we can go major 7, which just means play the note that's a half step below the name of the chord. The name of the chord is E flat, so we would throw in a D on that. And the 4 chord, it says 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4 chord is A flat, so anytime I have an A flat on here, I can throw a major 7 on that. There's my A flat chord, there's my major 7. So throw a G in on the A flat chord, and throw a D in on the E flat major 7 chord, and then everything else would just get regular 7s. So every other chord that I'm going to have in the song, I'm just going to put in the note that is 2 half steps below the root. Let me show you what some of those look like. By the way, this is split into 2 parts here. I've got the this line separating them just because last time we ran out of space and we needed more room for the second time through. So this is down here is just a duplicate of this part up here. Cool. So E flat, major 7, A flat, major 7, E flat, major 7. We're good so far? A flat, major 7, lots of A flats and E flats in the song. Okay, here's a G7. So here's a G. I'm just going to play an F, include an F in there because the F is a whole step below the G. Then C minor 7, so C minor, and then 2 half steps below that would be a B flat. A flat, major 7, E flat, major 7. The triangle means major 7. G7, C minor 7, A flat, major 7, E flat, major 7. G7, C minor 7, F7, B flat. This is actually suspended. This should have said suspended on it. So that's a B flat sus, so which means this is a B flat right here. And then we would just take this middle note up here. So we play E flat there. And honestly, yeah, you could, if you wanted to, throw that note in as well. So it's kind of like an E flat over, nope, sorry. This one right here, that is the 7. I'm thinking of the 9. Sorry, never mind. We'll talk about 9s in a second. So it's a B flat suspended. We could throw the 7 in on that, which means whole step below the root, we throw in A flats. By the way, this lesson we're not going to cut to our normal half hour. We're just going to let this thing go as long as it needs to today. So this will be a longer form lesson. E flat major 7, C7. We're getting there. F7, B flat, again, suspended 7, and E flat major 7. Now, you can also throw in 9s on top of this. A 9 is just the note that is 2 half steps above the name of the chord. So on an E flat chord, the E flat major 7, this would be the major 7. And then the 9 would be 1, 2 half steps above the name of the chord. So that right there is our E flat major 7 9 chord. Sounds terrible like that. Maybe you like it. Actually, I do like that a lot. But often in cases these are more spread out. So we've got like the D up there and the F up there. That would be more common. Or maybe take the E flat out, and since we have it at the bass, we're playing something like this. Would be a more common way to play the E flat major 7 9. So you can throw 9s in all of these. In some cases, it might sound better to play a flat 9, which is just a half step above the name of the chord. So you could throw in flat 9s in some cases. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Flat 9s wherever, yeah, sometimes. Wherever you don't like the 9 as much, try out the flat 9. Even if you do like the 9, try the flat 9. It might sound really cool. I know ahead of time which ones are going to sound cool and which ones aren't, but we'll talk about that later. So now we've got the exact same thing, but now I've got in the major 7s and the 9s, or the dominant 7s, the lowered 7s, and the 9s as well. So that exact same thing would be something like this. Again, I'm not really picking new chords, I'm just adding something to the chords that are there. Okay, so with a couple exceptions there, that is all the exact same thing as what I played before, except now we've got the additional notes in there, the 7s and the 9s, and automatically it's starting to sound a lot more jazzy. So now the actual work of the reharmonization, that was adding the major 7s and the 9s. Now we're going to exchange relative minors and majors. Couple different ways to do this. What I would recommend is, instead of using all of this stuff here, what you could do is, if you're on any one of these chords, like if you had a C chord, you could exchange it for an A minor chord, or vice versa. So these two columns right here, the 1 and the 6, those are interchangeable. Those are relative majors and minors. Wherever you have this major chord, the 1 major chord, you could throw in the 6 minor chord, even if you're not in the key of whatever. For the rest of the song, we don't really care about that stuff there. So just find the chord and then exchange it for the flipped 1. If it's a minor chord, you would pick the major one. You'd pick the 1 instead of the 6. Okay, another way to do that is using these circle of fifths. You can just play, like for example, back to that C. If you got that chord, you can go back 3 notches in the circle of fifths, 1, 2, 3, and play that minor version. So the 1 more clockwise is going to be the minor one, and the 1 more counterclockwise is going to be the major one. So this would be A minor and C major are relatives. Or if we want to pick a different chord as our example, we could pick one, maybe actually from the song. Hey, there's an idea. So if we wanted to pick the E flat major 7, so we'd pick E flat, and we go, all right, cool. What's the relative to E flat? Well, here we've got E flat. That would be our major chord. To find the relative minor, we'd go back 1, 2, 3. C minor would be the relative minor to E flat major. All of that, I would throw all of that out probably, but those are technically correct ways of doing it. Every time you have 2 notes that are 3 half steps apart, like that one and that one, they're relatives. That's probably the fastest way to play it. The one on the top, the one on the right, is going to be the major. The one on the lower is going to be on the left, is going to be the minor one. So F major is the relative of D minor. Works on every pair of notes that are 3 half steps apart. So if we've got an A flat, we can go down 1, 2, 3. F minor and A flat major are relatives. Cool. Relative meaning that they share most all of the same notes, so they're pretty interchangeable. It's going to change the quality of the chords a lot, but let's just do some of those randomly. I'm going to pick the 1st, the 7th, the 11th, and we're just going to do that on the 1st, the 7th, and the 11th. So the first chord is E flat major 7. I'm going to exchange that for C minor. Cool. And then the 7th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, C minor. Ha, cool. Change an E flat to a C minor and change a C minor to an E flat major 7. And then I said the 11th, that's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is another one here. Man, I don't like that because I'm just doing the same thing again. I want to do the C minor. I'm going to do the next one over, not because it's going to sound better, just so we have more different examples. So this A flat right here, I'm going to change that one to the relative minor to A flat, which would be, like we just said, the F minor. So this one will be an F minor. So now, having changed those, I could change a lot more of them, but for right now, that would work. So this would be something like... Yeah, what did I do there? Okay, so messed up on the A flat there, but all the substitutions should have been in there. The C minor, the E flat major 7, and the F minor. All right, cool. So then that's the first step, is just exchanging, that's the second step, exchanging relative majors and minors. So then this next one is adding suspended 4s and sharp 4s to longer chords. So this doesn't necessarily just apply to longer chords, but it's harder to play a suspension and then resolve it when you've only got a beat or two to do that. So usually looking for longer chords, like this first one here. This is a C minor 7. We can just add a sus on that, which means that you're going to play the fourth note, or the note that is 5 half steps above the name of the chord. So on a C minor, we turned that into a C minor 7 and added a 9 to it already. So we got those notes. But now we're going to take out this note right here, the one that comes after the name of the chord, the C, and instead we're going to throw in the 4, which is 5 half steps above the name of the chord. You might want to write some of this stuff down. So the suspension is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this note right here. So we're playing that one instead of that one. Cool. Let's try it. So that's going to be a sus right there. Let's add in a couple other suspensions. Again, trying to do this in random places, not thinking ahead of time of what this is going to sound like, so you can hear what this just sounds like on random chords. Now, when you're reharmonizing your own songs, you're not going to do it randomly. You're going to put all these chords in the places where you think that they sound best. You're going to try them out, you're going to throw away most of them, and you're going to keep some of them, and that's going to be your reharmonization. But, and eventually, they'll just, like, you'll hear a chord and you'll be like, oh yeah, maybe I should suspend that. Or like I'm doing on some of the minor chords and stuff, especially, just like accidentally adding in 7s because you do that so much on your own anyway. So eventually a lot of this stuff will become habit, or you'll start to hear it. But for right now, let's just do this stuff randomly. So G7 suspended to a G7. So we're going to resolve it. We'll first play the G suspended. So it was a G7 before. Actually, I put a flat 9 on it before, but G7, and then we're going to play the note that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half steps above the G before we resolve it back to that G7 that we were playing before. We want to resolve this one here, C minor 7. So that'll be suspended and then regular. We got another longer chord. Right, I guess the next longest chord are these A flat and E flat over here. So let's go ahead and suspend this one to an E flat. And let's do one more in the middle here. We don't have anything on the, we do have one on the third line. Good, we've got 4 suspensions. That's plenty. 5 suspensions. Okay, let's try this bad boy out. See what we got. Kind of subtle there. Oops, suspended that one accidentally. Oh, this one already was suspended. That's why I thought it was suspended. Something like that. So those are the suspensions. We didn't add any raised for. So then, let's try that on a couple of these. I usually don't like this sound, but let's go ahead and throw a couple of them in there. So we're just going to do the opposite, and instead of like on a, let's just try one here. We'll go +4. So we're going to go G7, but then instead of playing the 3, we're going to play the suspended, the raised 4. So it's going to be 6 half steps instead of 5 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be the normal 4. That one's going to be the raised 4. So we'd go. And a lot of times, I would play that instead of the 5, rather than playing it instead of the 3. So the 4 is going to resolve to the 3. The raised 4 is going to resolve to the 5 of the chord. Okay, cool. So we've got one of those in there. Let's go ahead and throw in a couple others. Might as well put one right here on this bottom line here. I'm going to go raised 4 to the F7. Okay, I got 2 of those in there now. Now we have a lot of suspensions. Here we go. The first one I don't really care for. It's just not really... whatever. I hate that E flat too, man. I would get rid of that. The G7 really wants to go to C minor. I don't like it so much. Nope, I'm not gonna get rid of it. I said just leave them. So. Yes, I hate those. So that is the sharp 4 and the sus 4. Every time I say that, then I get comments. Oh, I like that. That was my favorite one. So if that was your favorite one, use it. I won't be using it, all the more for you. So augmenting dominant chords. So this is kind of similar, except this is going to be anytime you have a dominant chord, it's a major chord with a lowered 7. So anytime it just says 7. It doesn't say minor 7. It doesn't say major 7. So back up here. For example, this one here would not work because it's C minor 7. This one over here would not work because it says A flat major 7. So that's not going to work. But taking any of our dominant chords, just a regular old 7, like this one right here, it just says G7 or an attempt at a 7. Then we're going to make that an augmented 7, which means we're going to raise the 5. That was our G chord before. This is the 5 because that's the 1, the 3, and the 5. We could raise that and still keep our dominant right there. Cool. I've got a feeling I'm going to like that one. Let's also augment this one here. This is an F7. So we're just going to make that an F, augmented 7. So we've thrown in 2 of those now. Now, again, in general, like if you're reharmonizing your own song, you're not going to go through and use every one of these and like check them all off. That is not the way to go with a great reharmonization. But I do want to demonstrate all of the principles here so you can kind of see what they sound like. So this, when we get done with this thing, it might sound absolutely horrible because we just tweaked with it too much. But here we go. like that a lot. It's super weird. Sorry, that was supposed to be a suspended 4. I read it as augmented because of the way that I wrote it. Let's take it back from the F minor. Okay, that was interesting. Walk ups and walk downs. So this is going to require that you are familiar with more than one chord in the key. But if you've made it down to this one, we're already in crazy territory. And this is just the green stuff here. Once we get to these blue concepts and the red concepts, stuff gets really crazy. But walk ups and walk downs just means anytime you have a chord that is not the next chord over. In other words, it's not an E flat moving to an F. It's not in terms of our key, an E flat moving to an F or an F moving to a G or a G moving to an A flat. Those are all just stepwise. Those are all one notch over. But whenever we have a chord that's not doing that, it's leaping perhaps from the E flat all the way up to the A flat, or the C minor all the way down to the G, or something like that. Whenever it's not going to the next chord over, then you are, there we go. That's our key. Then you can play all of the chords that are in between. So when we have an E flat that's moving to an A flat, for example, like we do at the beginning of the song, the beginning of the song is now a C minor. I don't like that. We're going to change that here in just a second. We can go through the F minor and the G minor quickly to walk up to the A flat, or vice versa. A flat going to G minor to an F minor to an E flat to get to the E flat. We just have to do it quickly enough that it doesn't disrupt the song. So I guess this is a better place to do it. I still don't like this over here too much, but I've already written it in. So here we're going to go A flat to a G minor 7 to an F minor 7 to an E flat. So it's just a walk. So we go A flat to a G minor to a F minor to our E flat major 7 suspended to E flat major 7. Other places you could do that, you could, I guess, get away with that. Man, there's lots of huge gaps, but they are all kind of filled up right now with stuff. Let's do, somewhere where we have, maybe we could do this one here. We've got an E flat major 7 to a G7 suspended. So maybe we could throw in real quick an F minor 7 to walk up from the E flat major 7 to F minor 7 to G7 suspended. Man. Let's try it. See what it sounds like. On your mark, get set. I was supposed to suspend that, sorry. Back to that A flat. It bugs me every time. That's something. All right, and I'm going to try to shrink this down so you can see, I guess, all of those at the same time. Man, that's a lot of weirdness in there. So that's already plenty of reharmonization, but we're still going. Reharmonizing on the melody using major and minor and suspended chords. So this is just paying attention. So far, we haven't really paid attention at all to what the melody is doing. All this. So this is just paying attention to what the melody note is and playing major and minor and suspended chords that have that note in the chord. So, for example, you've got a friend in me. Right here, this G, it's kind of a landing spot there for that chord. We have lots of options on that one. That is the 1 of a G chord. It is the 3 of an E flat chord. It is the 5 of a C chord, also a C minor chord. Also, it is the 3 of an E minor chord. So it is in all kinds of chords. It is also the suspended 4 of a D chord. So then, let's use that note right there, and I'm just going to pick one at random. I'm going to go ahead and, we are already using the E flat. I guess it's not random. I'm telling you why I'm picking these chords. So we're already using the E flat chord. We're not using the G chord on that beginning section. The first thing we did was sub out an E flat chord. So we're not going to use the E flat because that's just going back to what we had before. But we could use a G chord right there. You've got a friend in me. So I'm going to go, you've got a friend in me. Get rid of the C minor, push it over to here, and go G7. Then let's pick one other one in a place where we haven't really messed with stuff that much yet. Eventually, there won't be any of those territories left on our page. But for right now, let's go ahead and use this section. Ba-da-ba-bum. So then, let's pick these two right here. There's two notes right here. When the road looks, road and looks, road, looks. So options for this one would be, it's the 1 of a B flat, major or minor. It's the 3 of a G minor or an F sharp major. Or it's the 5 of an E flat or an E flat minor. So because we're already using the E flat here and we want to sub something out, then we're going to not use the E flat. Instead, let's use the F sharp. That seems weird enough. And then this one right here would be either the 1 of an E flat chord, which we're not going to use, the 3 of a C minor chord, or the 3 of a B chord. That's kind of cool. And then it's also the 5 of an A flat or an A flat minor chord. Man, I'm really tempted to use the A flat minor chord because we just came off of an A flat right here. But instead, the first thing I thought of is playing the B chord right there. So we'll just use the B chord. We'll go F sharp major 7 to B7. Not for any particular reason. I'm just choosing a random chord. So again, we're just taking the melody, paying attention to the melody and saying, throw out all the keys, throw out all the other theory stuff. What chords have this note in it? Little part of my soul dies every time I hit that E flat chord. It's so stupid. Oops, accidentally suspended that. This one doesn't really work either because of the melody. Okay, we'll keep on moving. We are almost done with the green section, which means we'll move on to part 2 here in a second. So this is pedal tones in the bass. So this is just picking a section and choosing a pedal tone, a single note in the left hand to play all the way through all of it. In general, if you pick the 1 as your pedal tone, experiment with all of them. I think what you'll find is, in general, if you pick the 1 of the key to be your pedal tone, then that section of the song is going to have a feeling of being pulled back to home. It's going to have the opposite of not the opposite of suspense. Let me show you. So the whole thing just has this, like, it's all being pulled back to home. Whereas if you use the 5, in general, you're going to find that it has the quality of being tense or creating suspense. So this would be the B flat. So I'm going to play the exact same thing, only now I'm going to keep playing the B flat on the bottom, and it's going to feel like it just keeps being unresolved. This whole thing just feels like it's just building to something, not like the melody keeps like trying to go away from home, but the bass keeps pulling it back. That's in general. But you should, like I said, you should play around with these, and I'm sure you can find plenty of instances where it's the exact opposite of what I just said, where you create suspense using the 1 and you create resolution using the 5. The last one seems less likely, but go ahead and try it out and see what you got. So pedal tones, I'm just going to pick a not random section. Using the general principle I just said, not having tried this out ahead of time, I'm going to try playing all of this over F. Over the B flat. I want this whole section to feel like it's got suspense. So this whole thing is going to be over B flat until we hit that last chord, and then I'm going to play an E flat to finally resolve it. So this is going to be weird with those chords. So that would be using the pedal tone of that 5, and then finally resolving down to the 1. Let's try the whole thing. So you're not going to use pedal tones in every song. It's going to be somewhat rare. But much shorter versions of it are more common, like having an F minor over B flat to a B flat to an E flat. But it can work over larger sections as we did here. So then the other one. We could do the same thing at the beginning. That's not too terrible. So we'll put a C underneath all of those chords there. All right, so then moving on to the last couple things here, slash chords and inversions. So then this is just when you have, there are better and worse ways to do this, but in general, I'm going to say that any chord that you have doesn't have to have the root in the bass. So, for example, in the actual song, that chord right there is not actually an E flat. I lied to you. That one is an A flat. That's actually an E flat over G, so that G can stay there. So we just pay attention to the left hand. So we get to stay there for the E flat, and the next chord's a G, so we get to stay there. So in a lot of cases, you're going to use these inversions, putting a different note in the bass in a way that makes the chords, or the bass line, flow more smoothly. But for right now, I'd say just experiment with anything, and instead of playing the name of the chord in the left hand, don't pick a random note. Pick one of the other notes, usually two notes, in the chord. So on an E flat chord, normally you just play an E flat in the bass. But try that with a G in the bass, or try that with a B flat in the bass, since those notes are also in the chord, something other than the one of the chord. So let's try that. In some of these cases, my goodness, maybe before we do session 2, I'll clean all this up and actually type all this stuff out so it looks a little better. But for right now, let's find places where we can just throw something else in the bass. We've already messed a lot with the bass here, putting those 2 pedal tones in, which is about twice as much or 3 times as much. I would normally put 0 in, and so this is 2 of them instead of 0. Feels like a lot to me. But let's try. Actually, there are some places I'm already doing it. Like right there. A lot of times I've been playing the root and then switching to the 3 of the chord. So I'm actually kind of already breaking the rules and doing some of that. But let's see here. Maybe we can put this over a G. So this one right here is going to be an E flat major 7 suspended to an E flat major 7 over G. And we'll do the same thing right here. E flat major 7 over G. Let's pick one more in the 3rd line, just so it doesn't seem like I'm cherry picking just one chord out of the song. I'm tempted to do it on that E flat, but let's not. Let's instead do this one here. I'm going to put a C minor 7 over E flat. Sure, why not? That's not really a thing. Man. It's just an E flat major chord. I'm going to put it over a G because the E flat's too boring. Okay. Not because the G sounds better, but because the E flat sounds too good. Okay. Too normal. I want you to get the full weight of these weird things here. So here we go. Starting at the top with our new slash chords, our new pedal tones. Good luck. Here we go. Let me try that last line again. That B flat's super weird to me. That F. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. That would be my augmented 7. I need that chord. Yeah, it's already in there. Okay, that's gonna be my F, augmented 7 over B flat. Okay, that'll work as the last line. We have one more, so connecting the bass movement. So this is kind of like the slash chord stuff, just paying attention to the bass. Now, we've paid attention to what are the chord qualities and trying to swap those out. We've paid attention to what number is this in the key and tried to swap those out appropriately. We've paid attention to what is the melody and tried to put chords according to what the melody is. And now we're just going to throw everything out except for the bass movements and say, where do we have big leaps in the bass that we could get rid of those leaps? And let's see what we can do about that. So if we just take a look at the bass, you've got a friend in me, A flat. So I'd like to go C, B flat, A flat. So maybe right here I could go, keep that C all the way through there, but then do a C minor over B flat right here, just for the sake of the bass, and going to an A flat, to a G, to an F, to an E. That's pretty comfortable. Now here I'd like to, jumping from an E flat to a G, I'd like to play an F in there in the middle. So maybe instead what I'll do here, oh, and you can't see that top line. There we go. So instead of going E flat suspended straight into the E flat major 7 over suspended major 7, then we'll throw in a F minor 7 in the middle, so we can go E flat, F, G, and then I'm on to the next line, A flat, G, F, G, E flat. I really hate that one a lot. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. I've hated it for long enough. I just really want that C minor 7. So then I'm going to now go to we can't do passing diminished chords until the red section. I'm going to leave that one alone. So we're just going to go from a G to a C. And then same thing here. So C minor 7 and then C minor 7 over B flat, so I can have that bass line go from the C to the F, or to the B flat to the A flat. And then F sharp, B, G. Not much I can do on that one without seriously altering the, and it's one chord per beat right there, so there's not like a lot of time to go walking around. Same thing here on this one. This is on purpose, so most of the stuff is random, but I know really what I'm going to want to do there to get to that C minor, so I'm going to save that until we get to the red section. Let's see if I can do one more though. F to E flat to G. We could do an F minor in there. That wouldn't be too bad. So we've got an extra beat in there. So E flat, F minor, G. So now, as you can tell too, we're getting like a different weird, super weird chord on every single beat now. So this thing's just getting way too cluttered. But I think you get the idea, paying attention to the bass line, not really to anything else. The reason I'm picking, by the way, the F minors is because that's what is already in the key. So going back to the key of E flat, hopefully you are familiar with whatever key you're playing your song in, and you know that like if you're going from E flat to G, you'd be passing through an F, and then you wouldn't be playing an E or an F sharp because those are not in the key that you're playing in. So you'd be playing an F, and you'd be playing an F minor because in the key of E flat, the F generally should be minor, unless you're altering it for some reason, like all the stuff that we're doing, where you just kind of do crazy stuff on purpose. But not crazy stuff, the F would be minor. Cool. Let's try this thing. This is the last of the green section. So here are all of your chords. And like it or not, friends, this is what we're dealing with right here. So maybe that was not a great advertisement for part 2, but next we're going to be dealing with all of the, what color is it? Some color, the blue section of this stuff. So the first one is on all long chords. Wow, we do not have many of those. We've got a lot of really super short chords. But if you're watching this live, we're about to hit the second section right now. So you just hang on, let me go through and alter some of these chords so it's still typed in nice and neat instead of my ugly handwriting. And if you are not live, but you're watching this in the archives, then you might want to go searching for part 2 if that song didn't sound crazy enough to you already. So either way, hopefully I'll see you soon. And if not, if you want to just take that stuff and run with it, well then good luck. Good luck and have fun.